I have a question for you. State of the state. We in the media obviously make a big deal of this thing. We send all our cameras, we send our whole team, we broadcast it statewide. You've sat there in the audience and reacted. Does the state of the state matter? Does it change anything?
Well, it matters in the sense that governors use it as a way to highlight what their priorities are going to be and what their priorities maybe in their budget proposal are, as well as other things they want to work on, things that they couldn't get to in that budget announcement to be able to focus on. And so in that regard, it matters. It's also quite unique because it is one of the only times that the entire legislature gathers with the governor, and that is a unique moment.
How does that dynamic impact things?
Well, I think that the governor has an opportunity to use the bully pulpit, and I think that has some impact. It does have a sense of history to it, as Margaret said. You have the Supreme Court comes in, you have all the constitutional officers there in both houses of the legislature. So there's a sense of history, and the governor has all the cameras there. They use it in different ways. Some go around the state. Plenty went to St. Cloud. Didn't have good attendance, I would say, even from legislators. I mean, it was probably 2/3 maybe of the legislature. But I do think it's an opportunity for them to get their message out to the media.
One national study estimates that my bonding bill would create 21,700 jobs.
And probably highlight the most important parts of their budget. The budget is a gigantic document, and it's hard to go through everything. So usually what I've observed, Carlson, Ventura, Pawlenty, all tried to pick out kind of what their highest priorities were.
We must have a tax system that is competitive, honest, fair.
Please don't raise their taxes.
To enact emergency legislation that will create a $20 million disaster fund.
It is my goal to erase the word voucher from the vocabulary by investing in public education.
You know, this time we're going to see something we haven't seen in 20+ years, and that's a governor speaking to a single-party control in St. Paul. Does that change any of the dynamics? Because usually the governor is using the speech to reach out to the other party, to make some inroads. There's not that same dynamic this time.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily think that this governor is going to ignore the party opposite.
Together, let's focus on the future.
I think that Governor Pawlenty had to work harder sometimes at finding those connections. I do remember the moment, my first year as Speaker, when he referenced the 4 horses on top of the Capitol, and that there is a woman driving the horses. And so I thought it was a nice touch. It got a little chuckle out of people, and you know, he worked hard at trying to build some rapport there.
No, we don't all agree on issues. I hope that you know that I respect genuinely the fact that you come here to serve.
I always thought it was interesting that Pawlenty, like when we were in a deep minority, like 47, you know, you try to applaud your loudest because sometimes the cameras are on the governor, the speaker, and the president of the Senate, not anybody else. So you don't know where the applause is coming from. That was a little tactic we used, was, okay, everybody applaud 10 times louder than you think you can, so the cameras make it sound like everybody loves this idea.
Well, let me ask you about the other part of the showmanship, and that's the reaction interviews, because you know as soon as that speech is done, we're charging onto the floor to get bites. In just a few moments, we will reconnect with Mary LaHammer, who will have a conversation with Republican lawmakers responding to the governor's remarks. Do you plan what you're going to say before the speech even happens, or do you sit there and react as it's being spoken?
Oh, well, I was always taking notes kind of off to the side, interesting things that were said, interesting ideas. I mean, you have the shape of what you might say, but the specifics are definitely cued a little bit off of the speech.
The governor's answer today was to grow the deficit northwards of $6 billion.
I always think the newsworthy items are, where can you find your party to disagree with the governor of your party, and where can you get the other party to find agreements with what he said? For them to lecture the governor about fiscal irresponsibility is like Bernie Madoff giving Tom Petters a lecture about fiscal austerity. You know, I think that with this one, it's going to be really interesting to see what the reaction is from the Democrats on some of the governor's items that are probably going to be contentious.
Great job. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.